All right, welcome to another episode of Warrior versus Zombie. And as always, I have an amazing warrior guest for you here, Lucie Rosa-Stagi. I will come back to her in just a second, but first, let me remind you as to why you're here. Success is a journey, it's not a destination. As warriors, we all have a history of ups and downs, wins and losses. They're all part of making us who we are up to this point, and they provide a foundation for our path forward. We all battle our inner zombie as well as those zombies in our world. In each episode, I interview warriors who are aspiring leaders from all walks of life: entrepreneurs, artists, health practitioners, business owners, literally any inspired leader that has a story to tell. These warriors have a cause, unique value, and a vision that goes generations into the future. And Lucie Rosa-Stagi is an awesome warrior. She is no exception. Her warrior journey began as an inspiration from her father, who was an entrepreneur his entire life. She started this latest chapter of her journey at 70 plus years young, and we won't dwell on that, but you still look great. Remembering the time and money freedom her father experienced. After enjoying retirement of 10 years, playing the happy retirement, or retiree as she calls it, uh, she was inspired to give back to the abundant world in which she was living. As a strategic partner with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, Lucie is firmly now entrenched in the knowledge industry. Today, Lucie is recognized as a guiding light of inspiration and empowerment, dedicated to helping women age 60 and above embrace their inner wisdom and leave a profound impact on the world. As a passionate business mentor for seniors, Lucie's vision is to rewrite the script on age-related stereotypes. Lucie Rosa-Stagi, welcome to Warrior versus Zombie. How are things in your world today, and where is that, by the way?
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, David. Actually, I am in Mexico where I live. I live on the shores of Lake Chapala, which is about 40 miles away from Guadalajara, the second biggest city up in the mountains, where the weather is just phenomenal, like 75 to 80 all year long. And I love it here. And so here I'm coming in from Mexico, sunny Mexico.
Well, I hope it is sunny there. Yeah,
It
it's
is.
warming up. It's warming up here in Dallas. I guess we're in the same time zone now. One of the things I
Yeah.
find fascinating, you talk about expats and kind of being in that area, and obviously um, you're not native there, but you've been. It sounds like you've been around. My younger brother, and his wife just they moved to Merida
Oh,
in over on the other side, a little further away, and they retired there, and they're living in a community, and there's expats, and a lot of them are from Canada. I believe that's where you originally got started. We'll talk about your story though. I don't want to go there yet.
okay.
But I'm always fascinated to hear he'll be coming through on the 21st, and they're coming back to the U.S. to spend time with their grandchildren and their children,
Mhm.
obviously. But as a grandparent, it's the grandchildren first, and the children, they
Absolutely.
come along with the kids, right? So, but anyway, so anything exciting or unusual going on in your world right now that we aren't going to talk about in your story? Or...
Absolutely. We just celebrated the Day of the Dead, which is
Oh
one
yeah.
of the biggest celebrations here in Mexico. But it's really interesting because, most people go to Pátzcuaro because it's so well known for the Day of the Dead. And we here in this little village are becoming really famous for several reasons. Not only that we're a pueblo mágico, which means, there are certain little villages that are given this name that means a magic uh, village, and that's what it is. there's a lot of people visiting us, but there are a lot of traditions that are starting here that have never, existed anywhere else. And one being the wall filled with masks by one of our wonderful, well-known actually local artists, Efren Gonzalez, who really has started a tradition, because now he's being commissioned by restaurants and even in Los Angeles to build these walls in restaurants and murals and all over the place. So it's become known, that he is the author, and so a lot of people want to see, especially that part of the Day of the Dead.
Wow, that's fascinating. Yeah, I know that's a big thing. I think I saw some uh, posts from my brother of some of their Day of the Dead celebrations there in Merida, and that area that they're hanging out in. So, but that's fascinating. Well, let's do this. I really, really, really want to get into. I'm so fascinated by your story in terms of. I want to hear how you got from where you started, and I got the entrepreneurial father and all that stuff, and retired 10 years, and now paying back. So I want to hear about that journey. So let's take a quick break. We'll hear a little of our theme song, "It's Not the Getting There" by Ricky Jean Wright. And we'll be right back with Lucie Rosa-Stagi and Warrior versus Zombie. All right, Lucie, we are back, and I am excited to hear this. So tell me, as I said before the break, how did you get from where you started? And you get to pick where you start. I know I could start my story a lot of different places,
Right.
to today. So tell me how that all got good.
Well, it's interesting because I work with a team of people where stories are really important, and where you start with the story is really important, because nobody wants to hear your whole life story. But quickly, I'll just say I was born in French Canada, left when I was 21, moved. I couldn't wait to really leave French Canada, because in my generation, the only thing that was available to a woman was either being a teacher or perhaps a nurse. And I wanted so much more out of life. My father traveled, and he had such freedom as an entrepreneur. There was something in me that wanted to do the same thing. And because I was a woman or a girl at the time, I thought, I'm not going to let that stop me. So I really felt that I needed to get a college education, which I did quickly. Graduated at 21, and then left immediately and went to Europe to live. And then came back and came back to French Canada. Couldn't get a job because I didn't know how to take shorthand or type even. And so I had to go back to a finishing school to do that. Anywho, I was just like very upset. I had this college degree. I thought maybe the world was my oyster. It was for men, but it wasn't for women. So I thought, okay, you know what? I've got to get myself to the United States, because things are going to change for me. And that's what I did. So got there, lived in New York, ended up in San Francisco for 35 years. And then when I retired to Mexico. So there's that long story short.
Yeah, that's a lot of moving around. So,
All right.
so tell me what kind of transitional challenges or that you experience. I mean, I already heard one of the zombies of people saying, okay, the opportunity is not there because of your gender, and I think
Right.
that's wrong. But again, that was the time that we were dealing in at that point in time. I don't think it's as much there. I mean, in fact, sometimes I feel like people are trying to hang on to those excuses, because obviously you've powered through those, and there's a lot of women and a lot of warriors that do. As I always say, you can own your excuses, or you can own your outcomes. But generally speaking, you're not going to like the outcomes if you use excuses to define what those are going to be like. So tell me about that a little bit.
Well said, David. Actually, the thing is that I just wanted so much out of life, because I had so much. I thought I had gifts. I didn't quite know what they were. And
Mhm.
so I just knew that I just was a global trotter kind of person. And so it was really important for me to experience as much as I could out of life. And so you know what keeps pulling you as a woman, you know, especially my age, if you're not married by 25, you're an old maid, and so those were like limiting beliefs, cultural limiting beliefs that I had to kind of get myself out of, you know, because they were haunting me. But I kept saying, no, no, that's cultural, you know, and it's not me. And so, you know, those were times that I battled, you know, with those voices. No, no, you're supposed to be doing this. You're supposed to get married. You're supposed to have children. Blah blah blah. And actually, to tell you the truth, when I lived in Spain, people, one of the first questions that they would ask me, "Are you married? Do you have children? How many children?" And it was like, "No, I don't." And it was like I could feel myself pull back.
Hmm.
And at one point, I thought, you know, I'm just going to lie to people because it seems to be very important for them and not so important for me. So those were challenging times for me, you know,
Mhm.
because how can you explain to people that you're a woman and you're just a human being and you want to experience life and you want to experience the world, you know? And I have some gifts to offer, and that's what I'm pursuing, you know. So those were the kinds of challenges that I think that I grew up with. And then, of course, when I got to New York and such a big city, I was like mesmerized by the bigness because I came from a small place. And wouldn't you know, I ended up in a village, retired. So, you know, what comes around goes around, you know.
The circle
And
of life, right?
a
Yeah.
circle of life, you know. It's like so, so I did have quite a few challenges because also I I had never planned on being a teacher, and I ended up in the United States being an educator for 35 years. And nothing that I had planned, but you know, I mean, I think I'm one of these people that I think the universe kind of takes care of you, and I kind of opened myself up to it, and I was very guided by my intuition all my life. So what felt right is what I did. You know, I didn't get my head too involved in my uh, decision making. You know, I just kind of went for my gut, to tell you the truth. And today, intuition's a big thing. You know,
Yeah.
everybody's saying, yeah, you know, especially I hear Tony Robbins says, if you're in your head, you're dead. You know,
That's for sure. Yeah. I
let
mean,
your heart speak to you. You know, and so your heart, there, you know, there's a mind down there.
well, I often talk to clients and stuff about, getting out of your head, getting in motion, those kinds of things. And that requires at some points when things you're struggling with, right? There's a degree of faith required, but it sounds like you had that belief or that faith. I happen to be a Christian, so I believe all things are possible, and
Mhm.
all things work for good for those uh, that are of that ilk, and that we just do the best we can. It's a simple life to live because I only got two jobs, right? I got to love God and I got to love you.
Right.
And that's it, so I don't have to like you. I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to be on, but at least I have to find out. So there's a lot to love here. So tell me, what other things along that journey? It sounds like you've had quite a few interesting, the 35
Yeah.
years as a teacher. What did you teach, by the way?
Well, I taught languages because, you know, Spanish was the major in college for me. And so I always knew that I would end up in a Spanish speaking country. And I lived in Spain, and now I live in Mexico. So having learned the language, I just wanted to, I'm a very practical person, I would say. So I just wanted to make sure that it didn't get lost. Of course, I could have majored in French because I grew up with both languages, but no, you know, I always, when I look back, I always thought you always took the hardest path. But you know, that's what challenged me. That's what made me grow. You know, that's what doing the uncomfortable thing was
Mm.
always what I found helped me grow so much. You know, and so that's what I did. And so but I had some fascinating jobs in when I was in New York, I worked for Universal Pictures, Paramount Pictures an editor for their foreign department. So we would do subtitles. That was exciting. And
Mhm.
then one of the other jobs that I had in New York was I was the private secretary to the ambassador of Iraq. Of course, we had good
Oh,
relationships then, and so things like that. And then I got into teaching through not the normal way that most people go to learn how to be a teacher, but I was hired by Bankers Trust at the time, and they were looking for somebody to teach their stenographers and typists to be secretaries, and that's how I got into teaching. And so, I worked there for quite a few years, and I thought, I can't go any further because my boss is not leaving, so I'm going to leave. And at the time, then I wanted to. My best friend got married, and friends were leaving, and so I didn't want to go back to Canada. So I decided that San Francisco was the place I was going to go, and so I ended up in San Francisco and lived there for 35 years and loved it. Loved every minute of it.
and
It
that's
just
where you
was.
were a teacher.
And that's when I actually got into teaching, then went for my master's degree, and worked with the Jesuits really for most of those years. And that's where I got that sense of purpose in life, that really my purpose was to serve others, because they had a great motto that said, men and women for others. And the part of that job that I had was campus ministry, and it was really taking students to third world countries to
Mhm.
show them how the other part of the world lived, and these children who had everything that I taught would be put together with children who had no shoes, who would play in the park, who would play with them. They were so happy. And when we met with them, they would say, oh my God, I have everything and I'm unhappy. And these kids don't even have shoes and they're as happy as could be. What is the problem? So it kind of transformed them. And I thought, oh my God, this is what I want to do. I want to be an enabler. So I call myself an educator, an expat, and an enabler. If I had to define myself in 3 words, those would be the 3 words.
Well, that's fascinating. I think that you've illustrated a number of warrior attributes as well as zombies that get in our path, right? In
Mhm.
terms of having to change locations, direction, but then you've been very conscious of, where you are being served, where you can serve. I love that. I mean, we talk about going to places where
Mhm.
they have almost nothing.
Right.
And, we do missions trips and stuff like that, and Guatemala or whatever.
Right.
And we're going to Mexico City here in January. And when you're there, you realize that happiness, joy, those kinds of things aren't necessarily about how much money you make or how much of the stuff you have. I
Right.
kind of had to learn
Mhm.
that in my own life, having a
Right.
lot of stuff, but then realizing that it wasn't there. Well, anything else? Any other zombies along the way that you've encountered? Or are we getting to today yet? That's
Well,
kind of.
this is what happened. So, I I can get into relationships at this point because
Mhm.
I started my online business really at 70 years old when I had a breakup of 10 years. And I was kind of devastated because I thought, oh my God, who would who would have thought that you'd be single at 70? I mean, you think that you could work through any kind of relationship and work at it. I know it takes two to tango, but anyway, it happened. And I thought, one of the things that I've always wanted to do, and I think I mentioned this to you, David,
Mhm.
I've always wanted to be I love to travel and I want to see the whole world before I go. But what I want to do is I only want to travel first class now. And so I know that that takes money and here I'm being a little selfish, but I thought, oh my God, I go from 2 incomes to 1 income. What am I going to do? So I look at what I have. What do I have? what can I do with what I have? I'm certainly not going to go out and get a job. I've been retired for 10 years and I've been a happy retiree. So I thought, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I'm just going to go start a business online. I had no idea what I was doing, David. I knew how to copy and I knew how to paste. That was it. That was it. I was not on social media. I knew nothing about that. I knew my brother kept trying to put my picture on Facebook. I said, don't you dare, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm all over the place now. And so, I started, I didn't know what it was. I got online and, like so many people, you hire a coach, you get advice. It's not that the advice is bad. It's just that you're not ready for it. You don't have the
Mhm.
skills for it. So that happened to me, and I got into e-commerce. So I thought, oh, e-commerce, that's what business online is all about. So I had a Shopify store for 2 years. I
Mm.
was working on it, and when I was getting ready to launch that business, oh, I was so excited. All of a sudden, I had this epiphany. I thought, oh my God, what am I doing? I don't want to work with things and products. I want to work with people. So I pivoted like a 360 so fast that at the time, the guru that I was following, he was so good. He was started to create apps for the Shopify, his clients. And so I knew he was very honest, authentic, and he knew
Mhm.
his stuff. And he was looking for affiliates. And I thought, I believe in this guy. I can let me represent him. But I had to join this company called ClickFunnels. And I thought ClickFunnels, okay, fine, okay. So I joined ClickFunnels, and then becomes the techie stuff. And it's like I'm going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But out of nowhere, I mean, I thought I was going to panic. The techie stuff, I thought, oh my. But I got this wonderful email from Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. They were starting a new legacy, which was self-education is the new norm. And I thought, oh my God, as an educator, I was talking to other educators. How can we change the traditional teaching? Doesn't serve us anymore. And I thought, oh, these guys are bright. Of course, everybody is at Google University, but they were taking it a step further. They were saying that people were looking not just for knowledge, they were looking for expertise. So they created a program that would help people take their knowledge that they had and their expertise, create a course, create a mastermind and whatnot, and start an online business. And so I became an affiliate for them. And it was an easy thing for me to do because not only did I didn't even know who Tony Robbins was. I didn't know. I knew his name, but Dean Graziosi. But I loved that whole idea. And I'll tell you something. I went away for 3 weeks on a pilgrimage to Israel, and I had a little card saying that this you're only one opportunity away. And I was telling people about this. When I got home, I had made 5 sales, and I'm going, oh, there's money to be made online. I didn't even have to work. And
That's
that's what
awesome.
started my journey. And since then, I've started my own business with 3 ex-moderators from Tony and Dean. And we actually take the same strategy that they have, because Dean used to say, steal from us, don't reinvent the wheel. He now says, model us. And
Mhm.
so that's what we did. We modeled them. And now we have our own business, and we're helping people launch their business online organically.
Well, I
Online.
heard the magic word, and you know what it is, right? Now. So we're talking about now. So I think we've gotten through the story. It's fascinating. I now can kind of my mind can connect the dots as to how you got to where you all are today.
Right.
So let's take another quick break. We'll hear a little more of our theme song. It's Not the Getting There by Ricky Jean Wright. And we'll be right back with Lucie Rosa-Stagi. All right, Lucie.
Yeah.
So this has been fun. You did a great job, by the way, of going through and kind of bringing me along that journey. I'm sure there's a lot more, as there always is, but but I think we've kind of got some of the zombies and the challenges and just but you have an amazing attitude. So tell me, why are you doing what you're doing
Uh,
today?
It's a great question, because the why of what you're doing is always so important. As I told you, I was a retiree for a happy retiree for 10 years because when I retired, all I wanted to do was be and not do anything. So I was, and I did that for myself. I loved it. But then all of a sudden, I had to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you a little story here because you mentioned your brother and being
Mhm.
a grandfather. There is what we call the grandparents drain here in the village, where all of a sudden the children of the people who live here get worried because their parents are like 80 years old and they're like, oh, you're too far away, it's time to come home, we want to take care of you. Well, these people have a wonderful life here. They go out dancing, they play tennis, I mean, there are organization up the kazoo that they volunteer for. They have a very vibrant life, but the folks back home don't know that, and they're always wanting to pull them back to the States or to Canada. And what that means is, let us put you in a home and then we'll visit you once a week, you know? So when I heard that, I thought, oh my God, I just want to do something about this. I want to create a village. I want to create a village for the octogenarians. And so, so that I can show their children that it is safe here, that we can bring in doctors come to your house still here,
Mhm.
you know, that there's medical care here that you can get, that it's safe, that you can, if you need help, then it's affordable. And so that's the biggest picture that I have. That's the biggest why that I have. Meanwhile, I want to help because of the statistics in the United States for people turning 65, 91% are either dead broke or dead. And I thought, you know what? If I can start an online business at my age, I'm going to help other women, all right, over 60 who are thinking about retiring, that they have wisdom, they have expertise. They can, all right, they can bring this expertise and knowledge to the forefront and impact other people's lives. And so that's what I want to help them do while I'm impacting other people's lives.
Well, you've obviously, I can see the unique value you bring to that equation with all of the pivots and the changes and the
Mhm.
things along your journey and your ability to identify connecting the dots with various things with your teaching, with your online and
Mhm.
offline and just all those things. Um, if anything were possible, and as I always say, everything is possible, what kind of impact, scale wise, whatever, are you hoping to have? You hit on it a little bit, but give us a little more on that.
Well, if I can just, I do think that you get to the top of the mountain one step at a time. And I
Hmm.
do think that I can reach the masses one step at a time. And so I, along with my team, work with small groups because we want, it's amazing, especially people over 60 who don't know where to start, how to start, whom to trust. Holding people by the hand is really important. So who knows where I'm going to be by the age of, you know, I just I just interviewed a woman who was 102 years old, you know,
Cool.
and she is still impacting people's lives. And if I can still do that at 102, like she's doing, can you imagine how many lives I can impact? I mean, we're doing groups now, 20 at a time, but it's still one at a time. I don't know. It's just it's infinite possibilities as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that mindset because truly it is. There is infinite.
Mhm.
As I say, my life purpose is to change the world one dream at a time. And you
Exactly.
say, and people say, how can you change the world one dream at a time? Well, if I help you get clarity on your dream and then you go out, you're going to impact people and then they're going to do this. and you can change the world that way. So
Absolutely.
so I love that.
And really, David, and it begins with us too, because
Mhm.
we've done it, we've changed,
Sure.
we're so
Yeah, you can
it's
model that. You said steal, but you can model that. They can model your behavior. They can model
absolutely
the things that you're already doing. Well, that's totally fascinating. I love that, and I love that vision. So let's do this. I know it's always a struggle for me because there's such good conversations and we can go, but we're going to have to go into what I call the land the plane segment.
right.
And when we come back, we've covered a lot of ground, and I know you've learned a lot, and there's a lot of nuggets that we can take from this discussion. But what I want you to do is bring it down, and
Okay.
I'm going to ask you when we come back, what if we take away anything, what do you want us to take away? So let's take
Okay.
another break. We'll hear a little more of Ricky Jean Wright and our theme song, and then we'll be right back to Land the Plane with Lucie Rosa-Stagi and Warrior versus Zombie. All right, Lucie, what a journey. My goodness, it makes me tired. I put 4 million miles on airlines, and I've been around the world or almost all over, Asia and everything. But I got tired just listening to your story. So, it sounds like you've had a lot, but it sounds like I can also tell that you've had a lot of fun along the
Passion.
journey too.
I'm very passionate about it. I love helping and seeing people succeed. There's not a greater feeling than that.
Well, you clearly are living your life purpose. And frankly, the average life expectancy for somebody retiring the way I thought of it when I first retired, 18 years ago, the end of this month,
Hmm.
I learned that the average life expectancy is 6 years retiring the way I thought of
Oh,
retirement, which was just being that happy retiree, not doing anything. And
mm,
so became it became very obvious to me that there was more to it than that. And I needed that God had me on the planet for a reason.
right.
If I wasn't going to fulfill that reason, then he might as well take me home. Right. So I decided that I was going to figure that out. So that's why I became the vision warrior. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. Let me ask you the question is that if we take away anything from either your story or what you're doing today or anything, what would you want us to take away?
Well, I do believe, you mentioned retirement. I believe that it's a time to reinvent yourself. I mean, it can be, it's going to be what you make it. And I think if I learned anything in self-development and following people like Tony Robbins and what, our mind is so powerful that if you believe it, you can achieve it. And I know that that's true because I'm the living proof. And age is just a number.
That's right.
Do not think that because no, I mean, I am working with a client who has an ageless star project, and we're going to change the perspective of, especially the United States, the vision of it's not going to be anti-aging, it's going to be pro-aging. And so we want to make that big difference in the world. And we are going to do it because we've started a movement and it's going to happen. So, you know what? Do not let age get in the way. It is not. It's only a limiting belief. All right. Because anything that you've ever wanted to do in your heart, all right, you can do it. And if you have to, give me a call and I'll walk you through this.
Well,
And
I love that. I love that. Age should not be a limiter. My vision, believe it or not,
mhm,
and we're very aligned here, is that I believe the years of man is 120. So my vision is to live to 120 years old with the vitality of a
yeah,
30-year-old. Now I have to stay alive, so that chronological age can continue.
yeah.
But I actually do things in my life that actually lower my my metabolic age, and I've been monitoring that since I retired. And so I've actually, let's see, I've gained 7, 10. So I've improved my metabolic age about 17 years since I've retired. So,
Congratulations.
I mean, but it takes work, right? It takes
It does.
focus.
Everything takes work, David. It's really, but I don't see it as work. I see it. I mean, you're either growing or guess what you're doing?
Yep.
You're
You're
sliding
going.
and yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean, if you quit fulfilling your purpose, I just think that that's the biggest contributor. It's like, what's the point? But anyway,
right.
well, I love that takeaway. Don't let your chronological age be a limiter to what is possible, because as I always say, all things are possible. And I
Absolutely.
didn't say all things are possible if you're 16 years old. I said all things are possible if you're 80 or if you're 90. And my 92-year-old mom, she can do a lot that a lot of people would say, how is she still doing that? And she's still
Right.
on her own. So, well, let me ask you this. I already kind of know the answer here. We're doing this live, and the recording, the replay will be up in the Be Connected platform. So I know Lucie Rosa-Stagi on Be Connected, we can find you. Is there any other way that you want us to reach out?
Well, my team and I are having we're starting a new program. This is our 5th year now being together, and it's called Launch Lab Hybrid. So if there's a coach out there, a course creator out there, an entrepreneur out there who doesn't know where to start, what to do, whom to trust, we are having a free sort of, we call it the master class, but it's to let you know what the program's all about. And so I would invite people certainly to come. It's free to come to see if that's a good fit, and then go from there. Just always explore the
Mhm.
possibilities, you know, and be open to everything, because you yourself know best what's good for you, and nobody else can tell you what that is. So, but we offer this free version that we are having next Saturday, November 11th, and and I think tomorrow I'm interviewing one of my coaches, so that information will be there and Be Connected for sure. And if anybody wants to connect with me, then I can make sure that they get that information and join us on Saturday, November 11th at 9 o'clock ET time.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely put, if there's links to that or whatever, we'll put those in the show
Okay.
notes for both the replay and the audio podcast. So for those listening or watching this, they'll be in the show notes on the replay. So, well, Lucie, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad we made this happen. I'm so grateful that you've invested this time. You've really made my day, and I appreciate that.
Thank you so very much, David, for having me. I really do appreciate it. And together, we're going to make this world better.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And yes, we are. Well, we got to land the plane. So we'll hear the final outro of It's Not the Getting There. And we'll be right back next week with another episode of Warrior versus Zombie.
Thank you.